There's a certain energy you carry, one that turns invisible walls into open doors before you even realize it. Right now, beneath the surface of daily routines, there's a quiet uproar building. Forces that once believed themselves untouchable are growing uneasy, not because of anything loud or obvious, but because of a subtle wave that only the truly awake can sense. This isn't the start of a story, but the tipping point of an era you've been unconsciously preparing for. While people in hidden corners and behind closed curtains scramble to defend their thrones, unaware that the floor beneath them is softening, a silent momentum is gathering around you. Not through conflict or noise, but through the lessons you've carried from places only you remember. No one can track the kind of growth that happens in the unseen moments, the ones that never make it into the conversations of the powerful. But when all their careful arrangements finally meet the truth you've been cultivating, nothing built on false ground can remain. Some people build their lives inside invisible mazes, tracing the same lines over and over just to keep the illusion from slipping. Day after day, they wrap themselves tighter in layers of ritual and expectation, terrified that any shift will reveal something they'd rather keep hidden. That's the cost of chasing applause. They become statues in their own hall of mirrors, unable to move for fear the image might crack. And what happens when the wind changes? When stillness meets a living force? The statues are always the first to break. Elsewhere, a different story is unfolding. Growth doesn't come from standing perfectly still, it comes from stumbling and rising, from letting life throw its hardest questions at you and learning to answer with something new each time. That constant motion, that dance with the unknown, builds a kind of strength the world can't measure. While some were busy building unshakable facades, someone else was learning how to walk through storms without losing their spark. Each time the world turned its back, another spark caught fire within, turning every missed opportunity into another secret advantage. In the end, those silent witnesses to your journey were setting the stage for something they can't comprehend, a resilience that no one else can break. There's a point where old patterns can't hold any longer. It's subtle, almost invisible, a quiet change in the way someone looks at you, a sudden pause where there used to be certainty. It's not about proving anything, not about needing approval. It's the kind of knowing that fills the whole room without a single word. The stories they told about you, they start to unravel. And when that moment arrives, nothing built on pretense can stand against the truth of who you've become. Somewhere in the depths of what people call winning, there's a silent ache for something they left behind long ago, something real. Ambition replaced what once came from the heart, and every day since, the shine on the outside has grown, even as the spark within faded. When faced with someone who still carries that original fire, the contrast is sharper than any accusation. Nothing shakes a soul more than being reminded of the peace they lost willingly. Whole organizations spring up to polish every angle, teams bustling to maintain a carefully painted horizon. Reputation becomes the currency, and reality fades to the background. But no arrangement, no matter how elaborate, can compete with the presence of someone who lives out their truth with ease. There's no technique, no filter, that can overshadow the raw evidence of genuine ability. People watching from afar think it's all about who can claim the highest perch, as if this were a spectacle meant only for sport. But beneath the spectacle, something deeper is at stake. This isn't about besting a rival, it's about unraveling the comfortable fabric of fiction that has kept so many asleep. When what's real decides to break the silence, it doesn't bother to ask permission. Those built up on stories rarely see their own reflection for what it is. They've glided through a world that bends to their presence, sheltered from real obstacles and surrounded by voices designed to soothe rather than challenge. But stories dissolve in the face of the undeniable, and those who have never tasted resistance are least equipped to face the actual. Behind closed doors, those in charge scan numbers, forecast outcomes, and rehearse their celebrations, believing the outcome is a formality. They strategize for victory laps, draft their next moves, and anticipate the applause before the music even starts. What slips their attention is the possibility that the whole script is about to be rewritten by someone who never needed to play a part in the first place. In the echo chamber of their strategies, confidence swells not from substance but from routine, so predictable it borders on art. They've grown comfortable, endlessly circling through contests scripted for their advantage, never realizing the absence of true unpredictability. Their rivals were not challengers but set pieces in a staged performance. That's why they can't recognize what stands before them now, a presence that refuses to follow any of their familiar patterns. The deeper tragedy is that self-deception has replaced self-awareness. The applause that follows them is so relentless, they've mistaken it for real accomplishment. Years spent curating victories and choreographing progress have spun a cocoon of fantasy around them. But illusions dissolve the instant they meet something unfiltered by hype. And for those living behind velvet curtains, truth has a sting no stagecraft can soften. Beyond the public's gaze, a stark contrast unfolds. While those at the top surround themselves with comfort and artificial affirmation, another life story has been unfolding in the wild, where the environment offers neither shortcuts nor safety nets. Every setback, every harsh lesson, every real consequence has left its mark, not scars, but the subtle architecture of wisdom. Where others rehearsed in echoing chambers, you've learned resilience in places where nothing was guaranteed, and the difference between the two will soon be undeniable. What fuels this moment isn't bitterness or the urge to make a point. There's a stillness that comes from deep alignment, a strength that can't be borrowed or faked. Authentic power isn't about besting anyone else, it's about embodying a purpose that outlasts opposition. When someone stands in that kind of clarity, challenges don't define them, they simply highlight what's been present all along. This isn't the arrival of new force, it's the unveiling of something that has quietly existed, waiting to be seen. Those who rose during times of easy gains and soft standards have thrived in a system tailored for show, not substance. Their ascent was never about finding the rare and remarkable, but about spotlighting whatever could be packaged and sold. But tides turn, and the world inevitably seeks something real. The very existence of someone who broke away from those confines, charting a course according to a personal vision, unsettles the entire landscape. The difference between climbing the steps laid out by others and forging a path up your own peak is impossible to miss when the two finally stand side by side. There's an undercurrent at work that few can sense, a quality that not only stands against resistance, but remakes it. This isn't about toppling opponents, it's about turning friction into revelation. In time, those who have any sense left will look back and see how their worldview was reshaped, not through defeat, but through the unexpected gift of awakening. Before that comes the moment of disbelief. Change is already rippling through the air before the door even opens. People who once brushed off the rumors are suddenly glancing over their shoulders, whispering half-formed questions they never thought would matter. The usual confidence of the established circle is unraveling thread by thread, and though they mask it with smiles, unease is rising with every mention of your name. Close allies of the reigning favorite are feeling tremors in the ground beneath their feet. Doubt creeps in, not with open confrontation, but in the quiet, careful exchanges that happen far from the spotlight. The certainty they once took for granted now feels brittle. What's emerging is the realization that old certainties are losing their grip. Curiosity spreads, and with it comes the urge to pin down your path, to categorize, to decode, to map out your history. But the effort falls flat, because every attempt to fit your story into familiar boxes fails. There's no familiar sequence, no prescribed ladder. The discomfort is palpable, because people can't diminish what refuses to be defined or claimed by any system. In the background, plans are being drawn and strategies rehearsed, all based on patterns that have worked 100 times before. But this moment isn't bound by those old rules. They're trying to prepare for a thunderstorm by building sandcastles, intense effort, but no real defense against what's coming. Inside, there's a quiet transformation unfolding. All the lessons collected, the wisdom gathered, the skills patiently forged, they're not new layers, but a revelation of what's always been beneath the surface. There's no becoming, there's only arrival. Authenticity isn't something constructed, it's simply what emerges when everything else falls away. What sets this apart isn't detachment or ignorance of the stakes, but a sense of peace that comes from knowing there's nothing left to prove. As the tension thickens around you, there's a widening space within, a kind of inner clarity untouched by noise or expectation. It's not about indifference, it's about surpassing the need for anyone else's verdict, grounded in the simple truth of self-recognition. There's a new kind of tension settling over the one who's always expected to win, an unfamiliar ripple moving through their well-rehearsed world. Living in a realm of guaranteed applause, it's unsettling to suddenly find themselves staring at an unknown variable, something that resists every attempt to be measured or controlled. They're realizing, maybe for the first time, that there are dimensions of experience they never learned to navigate. Yet, even on your side, there's a faint whisper of doubt, a tiny ember asking if you're truly ready for what's coming. That hesitation won't survive what's about to unfold. What's on the horizon isn't simply a shift in the scorecard, it's a deep, internal recognition, undeniable proof of what you've grown into, beyond any external standard. Meanwhile, the usual rituals are being repeated behind closed doors. Rehearsed routines and comfort objects, little preparations that once soothed nerves before a challenge, are losing their magic. Authentic strength doesn't depend on a checklist. When confidence is rooted in who you are, not what you've done, it arrives quietly, always in reach, never needing to be summoned. There's a scramble happening out of sight. Pages of notes and patterns analyzed, attempts to decode every possible outcome. For someone used to coasting on reputation, this frantic effort is new, and it's showing. No amount of rehearsal can mask the fatigue of having to genuinely prepare for the first time. The confidence that once flowed easily now feels heavy, its shine dimmed by unfamiliar pressure. The circle closest to the favorite is trying to patch up invisible cracks with platitudes and forced encouragement. But you can taste the strain, the undercurrent of uncertainty that grows stronger as the moment approaches. There's a distinct difference between borrowed confidence and the quiet authority of someone who knows who they are, no effort needed, no act to maintain. What truly sets this apart is the foundation beneath it all. Preparation wasn't just about skill or strategy, it was about being carved out into a vessel through which clarity and reality could finally speak. The outcome doesn't matter nearly as much as the unveiling of what's genuine. When what's real is revealed, illusions scatter. The mood in the space will start to change long before anything is said or done. People who've never witnessed your presence before will sense something they can't quite explain, a subtle disturbance, a flicker of recognition in the room. For just a moment, the long-standing certainty of the dominant player falters. They'll brush it off as nerves, but beneath the surface, their intuition is ringing out a silent alarm. Those who always believed in you are catching glimpses of a coming revelation. There's a quiet pride swelling within them, a deep knowing that their loyalty is about to be confirmed in the clearest way imaginable. They remember seeing your light leak through in private moments, and soon, that light will illuminate the whole space. Elsewhere, others who have been walking their own solitary paths are taking notice. They recognize what this moment represents, the validation not just of your journey, but of anyone who's chosen integrity over performance, substance over show. Your rise is their signal that real growth cannot be suppressed forever, and that truth, once revealed, leaves no room for imitation. There's a rare invitation unfolding, one that most will hear, but only a handful will truly respond to. For those ready to take that step, a space now exists where real breakthroughs are witnessed and destinies recalibrate. These gatherings have become more than meetings, they're the engine rooms where individual sparks join together, igniting a shared field of vision no one could generate alone. A call is being felt at the deepest level, echoing through every hidden desire and sleepless night. This hour was always coming. Now, even the most seasoned gatekeepers are finding themselves at a crossroads. Some are openly eager to see what happens when someone steps beyond the usual script, while others, less willing to face their own limits, are bracing for what your rise might reveal about the shaky ground beneath their own reputations. If you break through, the rules change for everyone. But what's really unfolding is bigger than any one outcome. This isn't just a matter of one person outmaneuvering another, it's a moment where pretense is dissolved and only what is substantial remains. The shift happening here isn't accidental, it's the natural effect of moving from what looks valuable to what is valuable. The entire landscape is about to be redefined, revealing who built on solid ground and who constructed their world on illusions. Years have been invested by others in perfecting the art of seeming effortless, while missing the point of what real ease looks like. When someone moves in sync with their true nature, the difference is immediately felt, a depth that exposes all attempts at imitation. Suddenly, all the hours spent polishing exteriors seem pale beside the quiet force of authenticity. There will be a pivotal moment where attempts to unsettle you are laid bare. Old tactics will resurface, the posturing, the dominance games, the attempts to shrink your presence by making the space feel smaller than you are. But when you remain absolutely rooted, when you refuse to waver or withdraw, everyone watching will sense the tide turning. Uncertainty will ripple across faces that once looked invincible. Their influence relies on keeping others unsure, needing approval or fearing exclusion. You've long since outgrown those needs. What brings you here is not a desire for entrance, but a purpose far greater than acceptance or validation. In that clarity, a different kind of strength emerges, the kind that raises the whole room, not by pulling others down but by lifting the bar for everyone. You won't need to point out the cracks in anyone's armor. Simply standing as you are, you'll become a mirror that reveals what is real and what is false. The effect is automatic, empty gestures crumble in the face of unshakable presence. At first, it will show as a subtle shift in who holds the room's attention, and then as a total redirection of energy from what's fabricated to what's undeniable. Those who tuned in expecting the usual spectacle will leave with a memory of something completely different. They'll talk about the night not as a contest, but as a revelation, a moment where they witnessed depth instead of display, and substance instead of show. Some will remember it as the instant their own story changed direction. Elsewhere, others quietly pushing against the grain will feel a sense of hope blooming. This isn't just your moment, it's a signal to everyone who ever wondered whether doing the real work would matter in a world of shortcuts. Your breakthrough is the proof they needed, the spark that says, yes, authenticity still wins. What's building now is more than a fleeting celebration. You're setting a new expectation, a reference point for what's possible. From this moment forward, standards will shift, not just for you but across the landscape. Organizations, teams, even entire industries will begin searching for those with lived depth, not borrowed shine. The line between imitation and mastery will become obvious, and the world will remember how it was drawn. There's a depth running through you that can't be traced to any single day or achievement. It's the product of years spent building from the inside out, until strength became part of your very foundation. Unlike those who draw confidence from streaks of luck or applause, what grounds you is ever present, immune to the whims of circumstance or shifting fortune. While some have mastered the art of drawing all eyes to themselves, believing that commanding attention equates to holding real power, what they haven't grasped is that true impact doesn't require an audience at all. When everything rests on external validation, the spotlight becomes a cage, and every move risks exposing what isn't real. When your only aim is to live out your purpose, there's no space for pretense, just the quiet certainty of someone who acts out of alignment. A strange kind of reversal is unfolding. So much energy has gone into rehearsing what looks impressive, that the muscle for genuine substance has withered. While others polish their image, you've been investing in what endures when no one's watching. The encounter between these two worlds will be decisive. Style may dazzle for a moment, but substance leaves a mark that cannot be erased. Their effectiveness relies on everything lining up perfectly: the right surroundings, friendly faces, supportive winds. Remove even a single advantage, and their shine starts to fade. Your growth, however, was shaped in places that offered no comfort, among people who doubted you, under pressure that would have broken most. The ability to thrive despite the odds is now simply part of who you are. There's a current running through the atmosphere, making even the most seasoned players uneasy. There's no way to name it, but everyone feels it, a sense that something unrepeatable is about to take place. This isn't just another chapter in a well-rehearsed script, it's a turning point that will challenge assumptions and reveal what's real beneath the surface. Timing will be perfect, as if every element in the universe waited for this moment. When it happens, change will sweep through the room faster than anyone can process. Old stories will unravel. New realities will announce themselves, undeniable and irreversible. Every witness will sense that the rules have changed. What unfolds next is just the opening act. The true journey is only beginning. This introduction merely lays the groundwork for greater responsibilities and new horizons. The recognition earned here is not an endpoint, but a launching pad for what comes after, proof that all the unseen preparation was never wasted. Something is shifting even in the air around you. Those who thought they knew you are catching glimpses of a transformation too big to ignore. Even the skeptics can sense it, though they may struggle to explain the feeling. It's the unmistakable electricity of someone stepping into the moment they were made for. There's a collective breath being held, an unspoken tension finally demanding release. Many have long suspected that surface-level accolades can't substitute for real substance, but few dared to say it aloud. Your breakthrough is more than a personal triumph, it's a liberation for everyone who ever felt suffocated by empty hype. Here's the twist no one expected: the very habits that carried the favorite this far are about to be their undoing. Confidence slides into carelessness, and the assumption of victory leaves no room to adapt when reality changes. As things deviate from their plan, clarity arrives for all to see. That defining moment will come when the old routine is performed one more time, certain it will produce the familiar applause. But when you meet it with silence, when you remain absolutely unmoved, the shock will ripple through the entire room. The crowd will sense it instantly: something extraordinary is happening, something they've never seen before. There's a kind of response that comes not from impulse or display, but from the core of who you are, effortless, as if the world itself simply unfolds in your favor. There is no tension, no struggle to prove a point. That sort of ease, the total absence of forced energy, carries a silent impact that shatters illusions faster than any loud rebuttal ever could. Authentic presence doesn't chase down pretense, it renders it irrelevant just by showing up. Every action flows in a rhythm so natural, it almost feels rehearsed, though it's nothing of the sort. This is what it means to move with the grace of real experience, not the kind that's been curated, but the kind shaped by genuine encounters with challenge. Each move speaks for itself. Each decision carries the imprint of wisdom gained in places most never dared to go. Those watching will finally see the gap between those who learn to mimic excellence and those who have quietly become its living example. Something deeper than personal drive is at work, a sense that your actions are guided by something broader than ambition alone. All that preparation wasn't about impressing an audience or collecting trophies. It was about becoming ready for a moment when truth is no longer hidden. When the real steps forward, the ripple is instant and unmistakable. Every false legend built around others will dissolve, and those who depended on shadows will be forced to reckon with what stands in the light. The very air will start to change. Groups that decide what matters in a room will find themselves questioning old ideas. Others waiting for a sign that realness still counts will find themselves stepping forward for the first time. You'll exit the stage as the person you've always been, finally seen by a world now prepared to recognize the difference. What will define this moment as flawless isn't triumph or spectacle, but the quiet assurance with which you carry yourself. There will be no boast, no chase for applause, not even a hint of surprise. The way you hold the outcome, calm, measured, untouched by ego, will give the moment a sense of inevitability. That grace in winning will make a deeper mark than the skill itself. As the dust settles, while others race to patch over cracks and rewrite the story, you'll simply continue living the way you always have. This will prove to all who witnessed it that your influence isn't shaped by luck or circumstance. It radiates from character, constant and unshakable. And the difference between scrambling for approval and standing in quiet integrity will teach more about real leadership than any words or training ever could.